Hello, everybody, and I should say welcome again, or I should rather welcome myself again because it's been a while since we had our chat regarding to different conditions and different diagnoses that we usually speak briefly about, just to have a common understanding and to explore further how we can assist ourselves within such. So now, today I actually want to speak about something that affects us all. That it's an it's a daily battle that we struggle with. Anger. Anger. It's something that everybody has at some point. But however, irrespective of everybody having anger, we yet to see that there are people that are able to contain or to deal with their anger in a way that is, more matured or relevant. And we also tend to get people that now have, that always allow anger to have the best of them. People that always go to the extent of acting at the rage of anger. And later on, when the person looks back, they realize that the repercussion of their action at that time was not necessary, but the damage is done at that time. And unfortunately, we get to see that the damage in most cases is irreversible. You cannot even repair. You have broken all the ties that you've been building over life, over some time, just because you acted at that rage of anger. We allow certain seconds, a split second, to change whatever that we've been building forever. So now that's why I actually decided to pick up this topic, anger. How can we manage it? How can we ensure that it doesn't get best of us? Because, it's not worth it. Tomorrow you come and apologize, but people won't even give you benefit of the doubt because of how you would have acted. They still have that picture of you. So now, once you've acted out of anger in many situations, it makes it difficult for people to trust you again. And it disadvantages you in many things. So hence I decided to pick up that topic, anger, and let us just to explore it and see how best we can understand it, and if there's a way that we can do to contain it or to be able to subside it, that it doesn't always bring the worst out of us. So now, when we talk about anger, I think it will be more relevant if we look it from the angle of temperaments. So now I'm going to talk about temperaments, which is what we call personality traits. So now, as I've said, temperaments in psychology are an aspect of personality. So now they are concerned with emotional disposition and the reaction and their speed as well as their intensity. So the term is used to refer to prevailing mood, or the mood pattern that the person would mostly present with. That's the word temperament. So ideally, temperament will refer to personality traits that will determine, or that determines, how somebody reacts to the world, how somebody reacts to situations, and how someone reacts to challenges. So now the question is, if these personality traits are the ones that determine how our reaction is going to be to different situations, different challenges, different activities that we come across, where do they come from? That's the question that we need to ask ourselves. So temperaments are believed to be are mostly innate. Sort of, when we talk about innate that we are born with. So one would assume that when we say is an innate that we are mostly born with, it's a thing that we are born with. And we will realize that people, we tend to be more careful about our reaction to people that are pregnant, because it is believed that the mood of the pregnant lady has effects or impact on the development of the personality of the child. So imagine now if somebody happens to be pregnant and throughout the 9 months of carrying the child, they were under the severe stress, they were under severe depression, they were rejected severely, so they were hurt, they were abused. So somehow now we see how that is going to have impact on this unborn child. Meaning that when this child is born, the child is going to be born having anger, having that rejection, and they could still feel, because it's what they were exposed to from their conception. So that is the only personality that they would have been familiar with. However, although we are born with these personality traits or temperaments and personality traits can be influenced. I think it also brings us to the point where we have now seen children that perhaps, let's say, were born under disadvantaged circumstances, and they happen to be adopted, to be taken out of that disadvantaged environment and being taken to environment that is more favorable for the child's development or the growth. So you would see that child might not necessarily have the temperament or personality that they were born with. There was a rejection at birth, but somehow once the child was born, all that the love and the care was given. So that we believe that it also has ability to reverse, meaning that temperaments can never be permanent. Rather, they can also be influenced. So that's when we say that they could be influenced by external factors, such as the environment, as we say, where the child would grow, or the child would mostly spend their time at, and then also the family, the culture, experiences, exposure would also determine how now this child is going to be shaped into which temperament. And I think we have also might have seen with ourselves that some of us, we might have grown up to be very shy people that were not confident enough to speak, to go out there to explore things because of the environment where we came from. Because maybe we were born in disadvantaged or poor families. We thought that we won't make it beyond that. But now being exposed to things like schools, you meet people, and your career also exposes to certain things, you tend to change that. Even if you are now the person that was not talkative, now you become to learn to be talkative, because the environment that you have now been at has exposed to that, has afforded you that opportunity to say that you can change from this person and be the better person. So hence I'm saying the temperaments they are flexible. They could be changed. They could be influenced for good and also for bad. That's another thing that we should also realize, because now we might have the child that is born at the nurturing environment, but life happens. That child tends to now be exposed to, misfortunes and terrible situations, rejection and so forth. Then we might see that child now turning from being a good person to the person that we never anticipated that child to be. So hence I'm saying they are influenced. So now we are still talking about that anger. I don't want us to deviate much, but the issue is that is where anger comes from, because your anger would actually form part of your personality. So just to get that clarity not that maybe I'm deviating from anger to temperament. So now when we look in psychiatry, we would see that in psychiatry we usually speak about 3 P's. That's the influencing part that I'm still talking about, how these temperaments develop and so forth, how they come to be realization, how they come to be part of us. So now these 3 P's, they also influence one's persona or that temperament. So now we can say our persona are influenced by those 3. The first one will say it's predisposed. As I'm saying, you have been predisposed to that kind of environment, activities, things like that. And the second P will be precipitated. There's environment that would have precipitated certain behavior because of what was happening at that point in time. And the third one is like it's been perpetuated. So now, because of all these things that are being presented to you by your environment, which is external factor, they have ability to also contribute to what kind of persona or temperament you're going to have tomorrow. So let us look at Beckenham 2002, if I may quote. He did quite a lot of work pertaining to temperaments. And in his work, he even came up with 4 types. He classified temperaments into 4 types. The first one, he referred to it as sanguine. Sanguine is people that are quite optimistic, that they are social. Although they are social and optimistic, we might want to think this is an ideal persona to have. But now he said it also has disadvantage because it's mostly associated with the element of burnout, because they are too optimistic. They always want to go out of their way. They overwork themselves. They tend not to rest. They are social. They want to please almost everybody. So now the burnout and the stress would actually be what they might end up dealing with at the end of the day. And we know that once you are now stressed, you are burnout, how your reaction is going to be. You might be angry for no reason. Small things might provoke you. So we need to take that into consideration. So the second one he refers to as melancholy. These are people that are very quiet. They're analytic. They want to analyze almost everything on their own before they can commit. They're quite reserved people. So, but now, because they are like that, he even associates them with, he compares them to the earth. They are earth. They are antisocial. You know how earth is. Earth is very quiet. And we can walk and do all sorts of things. But there's a time that they say there's earthquake. And you know what happens when there's earthquake? Meaning these quiet people, if they happen to be provoked, the kind of reaction you'll get from them is what you're not expecting. So those are the temperaments that we are learning. The third one will be choleric. These are just our people that are short-tempered, unfortunately. They are easily irritable. Small things just irritate them and just bring the worst out of them. So those are the personality that these people might have succumbed to. So there might also be reasons, as we have said, that actually had subjected them to that kind of personality, that they are just short-tempered, they just easily irritated for no reason. And I think we get to see quite a lot of this, especially on the roads, where somebody just want to get where they are going, forgetting that there's also other people that are in a rush as well. So now, the last one will be phlegmatic. Phlegmatic are relaxed, peaceful people. they are actually your water. So we need to note that it is possible to be able to identify with these 4 personality traits. However, we also need to bear in mind that you can have combination of all those. It's highly possible, because I think sometimes we tend to act differently at different environments. You might find they will say this person is very nice person at work, but at home is completely different person. It's what that environment maybe requires of him. So that's where now we need to sit down and try to determine and see how best can we classify ourselves, which temperaments do we associate ourselves with. And once a person discovers that, then it gives you an ability to be able to deal with anger management, because you will know that you are the person that is easily irritated. You would avoid things that might irritate you. So that is the best way that you will be dealing with your anger. If you know you are a reserved person, you will also try to, or quiet, you will try to avoid by all means people that will always want to take advantage of you, because that at some point it might also anger you. And, hence we are talking about anger. So I think that's one step that it should assist us. That once the person able to identify which personality trait describes him or her best, it gives you opportunity to be able to deal with anger or any situations, that the prevailing situations that you might be confronted with. For example, let us look at sanguine. For example, we said these are highly sociable and optimistic people. So now, once you know you are that kind of person, you will slowly, if you want to know how to deal with your anger, you will develop a strategy on how to cope with negative people, because sometimes you will be trying to, because you're optimistic, you'll be coming with ideas and trying to table things to people, motivate us. But somebody will just come and say, who are you to think that you can even pursue that? So once you are that kind of person that is optimistic, you need to develop that strategy on how to deal with people that might always want to anger you or discourage you from pursuing what you want to pursue, so it doesn't end in anger state. So now, as I said, also melancholy, they are very quiet, so they will also develop a strategy of trying to avoid people that might take advantage of people, that they use people, because this might anger them to the extent that they will even forget that they are very quiet people. They will deal with you. So choleric, which are people that are very short-tempered, that are easily irritated by minor things. So now, if you've already identified yourself or associated your behavior to have been part of this choleric, I think you will also start to develop the strategy on how to avoid sensitive confrontations. Learn how to walk away for things that might now put fuel on your already high anger, already burning anger. So you will try by all means to avoid things that might lead into arguments or debate that might end up being unpredictable or ugly. So the last one would be phlegmatic, which are very relaxed, peaceful people. These people also need to know their traits and understand it, and know that ours might be contradictory, because they might be very peaceful people. So they will be surprised if others are acting in a way that they wouldn't have acted. So being peaceful, they must also know that they don't need to expose their personality to like that, because if you're a peaceful and relaxed and soft person, you'll always become a victim of something, People will always victimize you. They will always say things to you, asking you things that are impossible. Knowing that because you love peace, you will say, for the sake of peace, let us do it. At the end of the day, you are overworked. You've now even deviated from your own plan because you are just trying to do things for the sake of peace. And at the end of the day, who gets more angry? Yourself. Because you might have failed yourself in the process, all by trying to contain the situation to be peaceful or to be relaxed. So now we would say temperaments are ideally our daily interactions with different people. Meaning, can you imagine, it simply means that on a daily basis you get these 4 different personalities interacting with each other, and you see that there's a bit of misunderstanding and conflicts, and no, because sometimes they are not actually gelling together. That's where the anger will come. So that's the issue of the temperaments. We need to remember that just because you are a soft person, it doesn't mean that everybody is soft there. So hence, I'm saying the conflict is bound to happen. And once conflict happens, that's where the anger kicks in. So with this presentation, what I'm simply trying to do is with this presentation, the fundamental element that I'm trying to bring out to everybody is that everyone is responsible for their development of their personality. You have ability to choose to maintain which personality you want to be associated with, which temperament you want to have or you want to possess. Because temperaments are your soul. And remember, souls have no color. Soul have no race. Soul have no nationality, and it has no gender. What we feed our souls is entirely what our personality or our souls will become. So temperaments are flexible, as I've said before. And in neurology, we would say that something that is flexible will refer to as neuroplasticity, simply meaning that it has ability to change through growth and if you reorganize it. So, or other literature would actually define neuroplasticity as a general umbrella term referring to how brain has ability to adapt, change, or modify itself or the structure and the function throughout the life to be able to respond to experiences and situations. So what am I saying? Why am I bringing this? I'm simply saying that it is when the brain is rewired, or if you're now exposing your brain to a new way of doing things, that you also affords it that ability to adjust, to modify itself, to be able to deal with situations in a better, more effective, and contained way. So I think that is the only way that we will be able to deal with anger. If now we've already told our brain how to act, that if something now irritates you, simply walk away from it. You do also assist you to avoid that anger. If you know people are going to take advantage of you, see how to navigate that, how to stay away from that. You've already been seen, you've already experienced it before, and I think it got you angry. So now it's not worth always angering you, whereas you know what is the source. So I think the main thing that I'm trying to bring here is, with anger, the only way that you are able to contain your own anger is to be able to determine the root cause. If it's people, if it's how you do things, if it's how you react to things. So once you have identified that, it now affords you to be able to implement new strategies, better strategies, to be able to deal and contain your anger, so that anger never get the worst out of you. Because As I've said before, anger is one thing that is very small like this, but it can bend the whole country. It's a thing that you will react within split second, but the repercussions will last lifetime. Imagine now if you have already developed trust with people, your business partners, your friends, and all this, but every time there's a situation that is unfavorable, you project that anger traits or personality. That's when now you start to lose trust. People do not want to be associated with you because you always spoil things. You spoil their moods. You spoil their plan. All because you are unable to contain that thing within that second. So let us go and see how best we can describe and analyze our own moods and develop strategies on how to interact with people of different personalities. I think that is the best way that we might be able to contain our own anger. So I believe that when we say we want to do anger management starts with you understanding yourself first. Self-discovery. Go and discover yourself, who you are, what irritates you, what are things that actually spoils your mood, and how are you going to be able to deal with, which strategies do you need to put into place to be able to deal with such, because they will always happen. It's part of life, unfortunately, but you cannot be always projecting anger, because it doesn't take you anywhere. It doesn't take anybody anywhere at the end of the day. So the best thing is just, because people are different, people have got different experiences. We are all from different walks of life. As we said, that the soul has no color, it has no race, it's got no nationality, it's got no gender. All our souls are different. They are just the way they are. We just need to know how to deal with each other and how to accept each other and how to live with each other. I think that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.